Hello everyone. So I have previously spoken about my paranormal supernatural romance that came about in a very bizarre way, and the hilarious way in which the cover happened. So if you don't know about it, this is the cover. Let's just see, does it do it? Yeah, okay, so that's the cover. And then of course, yeah, it happened all by accident in a way. So, um, and I do have to say that I'm glad I wrote it because, as I explained in a previous video, it is my small, tiny contribution to the genius that was Anne Rice. And I was lucky enough to have had several email exchanges with her. And of course, I've kept all the emails that she sent me because it was so amazing to feel that she'd written words just for me. So yes, of course, I'd kept them all, and eventually I will probably frame them or something. She was such an incredible writer. So of course, I can't write like her, but yeah. Anyway, so this was my little tribute. So I'm going to read you a little tiny bit of it, only because people have loved this story. So I'm going to read you a little tiny bit of it and see whether you like it as well. And if you do, I'd love it if you tell me and comment, what you thought of it, and if it's something you'd like to hear more of from me. I'd love that. And if you like the video, then do please like it, if you see what I mean. Okay, so I wrote this short story and then put two others with it because I didn't think it was long enough to be able to put on Amazon. But in fact, it was long enough. So there are two bonus short stories within this little book. So the first one is called Draven Beloved. I became aware of being awake and wondered immediately about the rose. I opened my eyes but shut them again. The early morning sun's bright smile was almost unbearable through the large curved windows of the bedroom I hoped to get used to soon. The new home smell was still everywhere, but could not completely mask the ocean's salty odour pouring through the open windows on the upper levels. I wouldn't dream of opening a window on the lower levels at night through which someone could enter. This place was too isolated. Keeping my eyes closed, I slowly sat up against the headboard. I tried to savour the final dregs of sleep that were hell-bent on departing before I was quite ready to let go of it. The dream clung to me, unwilling to leave, as it did nearly every day for the past months. This time it was more vivid. As before, the enigmatic man had turned up in my bedroom door, where he'd stood, gazing at me for moments. I should have been scared. Instead, I'd experienced a sense of anticipation and excitement. I felt my body respond before he'd even touched me. Then, fire. It burned through me as his lips met mine. My head swam from his exotic masculine scent. It carried the promise of pleasure I could only dream of. But underneath, just out of reach, lurked an awareness of the forbidden. His kiss, so soft at first, ignited my body and soul. The urgency of my desire for him made me struggle for breath. As though he could sense what I wanted from him, he completely overwhelmed my senses until only he existed in my world. His hands and mouth were everywhere, hot on my fevered skin, caressing, loving, coaxing. But when he moved his hands up the insides of my thighs and gently pushed my legs apart, I realized I was unashamedly and uncontrollably panting. Sounds I didn't recognize came from deep within me, and I couldn't control them or my response to him. I wasn't alone, though. Sensual, deep-throated sounds, somehow otherworldly, came from him in his masculine wantonness. My excitement peaked, knowing I had elicited those noises from him. I squirmed against his hands as his thumbs teased at my entrance, and both of us gasped with the exquisite pleasure of him entering me. So I'm going to leave you there with that little snippet. Tell me if this is what you want me to write for you. I don't normally write things like this. Yes, I do write sex scenes in my romance books and also in my women's fiction books, but it's not quite ever like this. It's a little bit less explicit, let's put it that way. So I would love it if you could tell me if this is what you like to hear and what you would like to read from me. I love Draven, and the name Draven also came sort of almost like a download, you know. And then the other stories in this little book did the same thing. Those names just downloaded themselves. And what is very interesting is that all three of these stories are linked to other stories and other characters I've been writing. They've not been published yet, but I've been writing them, and I was astonished when they made an appearance in this little book. Yes, the joys of being a writer. What can I tell you? It's wonderful when that happens. Okay, so until next time, I hope you enjoyed listening to this, and I look forward to hearing from you, and I shall speak to you very soon. Mwah!